let's get scratching.
We got an explosive broadcast coming to you. Listen up. Sega games, just keep playing them. Sega!
We're back. It's the SEGAbits Swingin Report Show. Live. Get ready for Sega interviews and news.
I'd stand still along that twilight.
First, turning down the wrong volume there. Welcome to the first Swingin Report Show of 2025. I'm Barry, and joining me on this episode, as always, for our look back, and it is a look back because we're in 2025 and we're looking back at 2024, is, of course, the man with the plan, George.
I have no plan, but thank you for the applause.
Well, isn't this nice? Because, you know, I've taken it on myself to do these like 6 times a year, and for you, George, you're always hosting Sega Talk in the sense that you're running it behind the scenes, and now here you are. You just sit back,
with no
relax,
control.
Let Uncle Barry take over, and he'll stress out over all the dials, and there's so much going on in front of me, but for you, it's just my beautiful face, and you know,
it's simple.
It is simple. So we are looking back at what Sega, and I guess Atlas, we used to bring them up, and then I realized we would be like the best Atlas game, and we would never talk about it for the entire episode. But we can talk about Atlas if you want. You're an Atlas boy, aren't you?
I do like Atlas. I think they make very unique software that no other JRPG company has kind of makes, and I think Sega this year has been that company that's made a lot of JRPGs that no one else has made. They have a protagonist that's 48 this year as the main actor.
Let's hear.
Congratulations, Ichiban.
Yes, old man pro tags. We need more of those. So I think Sega did a lot of work for us. They actually have a video they put out looking back at 2024. So let's play that. We can talk over it. I'll turn the volume down a little bit, and we can remark on some of these wonderful and maybe not so wonderful games. And then we're going to just fly through some of them that didn't get mentioned in the video, and then we're going to name our favorite and most disappointing. So let's kick off this video. Did you watch this before earlier today,
just when you played it.
Yeah.
No, I didn't watch it earlier.
It's helpful because I'll be honest, I completely forgot that Monkey Ball came out this year.
I just bought it a month ago, so I remember it because of that. But totally forgot about Persona 3 remake, the Reload.
Yeah. So here we have Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. I think that was one of their biggest releases of the year. You mentioned Persona 3 Reload.
Mm-hmm. I will say something really nice about Reload is that it's the first game to run on the Unreal Engine, and it looks so smooth and crisp. Even compared to Metaphor, so very cool looking game. Like, it looks sharp.
It does, and there are some mobile titles in here. I believe we saw. I can actually pause this and go back. Look at that. It's like I'm Time Lord or whatever his name is from Sonic and Shadow Generations. I can. Total War Pharaoh is something that we'll probably not talk about much here.
No.
But the strategy RPG games that have been coming out, they kind of pass over us, both in a PR sense. We don't really get much. They never send us review codes.
I mean, they shouldn't, because it's we wouldn't know how to even approach these, I think.
Right.
For like a legit review. Unless you do like a Sega fan version of like trying to get into it. That'd be interesting.
It's true. Another one was Unicorn Overlord, which honestly, I have no idea what this is. Do you know anything about this game?
I put in like 20 hours into this.
Holy crap.
I enjoyed it, but it got kind of repetitive. I told you this felt kind of like it was. I thought it was going to be like Shining Force, but it came out to be more like a hybrid of like a tactical kind of mobile game. It's actually pretty cool. I actually really enjoyed some of the aspects of the open world and the story and the voice acting, and the art is amazing. Look at how beautiful the art looks right here.
It looks really nice.
But I just kind of felt like it was repetitive, and then I had like 5 other Sega games on my list to get on through, so I kind of put it in the backlog. Hopefully I get back to it though, because I did enjoy my time in it. I just kind of got burnt out.
That's fair. We also had I've been hearing this one's probably the most disappointing for some people.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah, it's a Demon Slayer board game. I assume for mobile.
I mean, when we were kids and we had like an anime we liked, I don't think we wanted a board game of the anime. So
Right.
probably
I mean,
something
it didn't go over
should
with
think
Sonic,
about.
so
Yeah.
I can see why Demon Slayer wouldn't do so well. Shin Megumi Tensei 5. What can you tell us about this one?
I haven't put too much time into this because I actually did put time into the first release. This is a re-release of the game, so like there's now 2 paths, and I guess the new path has a new story, and they fixed a bunch of stuff they couldn't get to for the first time around.
Right.
So this is something that a lot of people have actually kind of mocked Sega about, re-releasing these like Atlas games like Royale with more stuff. Like you put 120 hours into an RPG, you beat it, and then a year later they re-release it with fixes and more story, and you have to add another 80 hours. So I could see people getting a little mad about that. Yeah.
We also had
that one's a re-release.
Banana Rumble, which was a new entry. It wasn't a re-release. And I think for
What do you think?
Banana Mania and Banana Rumble kind of run together in my head, which is why I know this was a game that released this year or last year at the time of recording this, but like just looking at it, it feels like an expansion on Banana Mania, which is why it didn't feel as new and fresh to me. But that's not a insult to it. I think it was a very competent game, and it was a lot of fun. I just think maybe
I was going to say, I just think that one thing that Super Monkey Ball has done pretty well is not tied itself to a franchise number.
Right.
And they've kind of like, you could pick up any of them. You could even pick up the one that was the remake of 1 and 2, and people did not know that's what it was. They just assumed it was a Super Monkey Ball game.
Right.
Because you could just there's no like, sorry, go on.
Well, there was Banana Blitz HD, and then there was Banana Mania, and now there's Banana Rumble. And I pointed this out on the SEGAbits Discord, but like we're at a point now where I think for the past almost decade, it's Super Monkey Ball Banana something. So like banana is essentially just as
the name now.
Yeah, it's just as important in the title as all the others, which is funny because they added super when it hit consoles, and now they're just they're adding more words. So I'm wondering what other words could I think if they drop the banana. Well, if they drop the banana, someone might slip on it, but
hopefully not.
Yeah, little joke there. But this next one, Puyo Puyo Puzzle Pop. This was, if I recall, an Apple Arcade exclusive.
Oh, that's why I've never heard of it. What do you think about that? You use Apple, but what's your opinion on like locking these behind a single paid to monthly platform?
I'm split because I feel like without Apple Arcade, Sonic Dream Team and other titles wouldn't exist. So it's kind of like
agree.
They just wouldn't happen. I don't think Sega would put the time and money into making these. And I don't want to call them mobile because they can be played on a TV with a controller and on a computer. It's really an Apple ecosystem exclusive game. And so on one hand, I'm glad they exist because otherwise they wouldn't. But on the other hand, as we've seen with the sequel to Choo Choo Rocket Universe, it came and went, and I think in just under 2 years. And Sega won't comment on it. I think Hardlight commented on it and then like deleted it. So it's like a really weird situation there. And so this like Puyo Puyo Puzzle Pop it's a lot of fun, but I'm afraid it's gonna like get delisted at any point. Just like Dream Team, like those games are not safe. Unlike a game like Sonic 4 Episode 1 and 2, as much as people might hate them, I'd like them to be preserved, and they kind of are. But Dream Team, it's not only digital, it's locked behind a service that can make it unplayable. As I sit here, in fact, I have Choo Choo Rocket Universe on my desktop, but unplayable. I don't want to delete it because it's like, it's the last
Remnant
of it. Yeah, the last evidence of it existing. But yeah, Puyo Pop, good. Total War Warhammer 3, again, this is something I feel like you and I don't really...
I actually play Warhammer 3, actually. A little bit, not too many. I have like maybe 20 hours since it came out. I've been trying to get more into it because I do like Warhammer and I read the books.
Yeah.
So I actually do like the characters and the world. I haven't played this DLC. I think they have too much DLC. It's like 2 DLCs in 1 year.
Wow.
Ridiculous.
We have Metaphor Refantazio.
Yeah, Refantazio.
Yeah, there you go.
Refantazio. That's how it says it, yeah.
And then, of course, Sonic and Shadow Generations.
What a smart release.
Talking about. We'll see.
Having the commercial during the movie was so cool.
That was really cool. I was even like, Sonic Rumble. I was like, holy shit, this is on the big screen. This does not look good on the big screen, but Sonic and Shadow Generations did. So this is awesome. What everyone came here for, George. We're going to now announce, and this is kind of like, this is bigger than the Game Awards. We are going to announce our favorite Sega games of 2024. So first off, I don't know if it's you or me. I guess we'll find out. I think it might be me. But
go for it.
First favorite Sega game of 2024 is Sonic and Shadow Generations, or Sonic X Shadow Generations.
Yeah. Extreme game.
What can I say about this game that hasn't already been said? I guess it would be, I have to give it a Boom or a Black Doom, right? Like the Costco guys. Mm-hmm. So I would give it a Black Doom, but in the good way. So Black Doom. And I guess what shocked me was how polished the Shadow Generation section was. Like it straight up felt like I was so used to Sonic Frontiers, and then to jump in and experience something so soon after that feels like such an improvement was kind of wild to me. And then on top of that, someone was doing a really good job, or a group of people were doing a really good job making action stages again. And that just boggled my mind, because the cyberspace stages were fine, but they weren't memorable, and I don't revisit them. But man, I play Shadow Generations action stages a lot, surprisingly. They're so much fun. They're long, which is surprising too. I have to wonder, like, in minutes, how long the Shadow action stages are compared to the Sonic action stages in Generations. Like, just the first act, not the 2D stuff. I don't know. But that's my pick. What are your short, brief thoughts on Sonic and Shadow Generations?
I thought it was amazing that they finally got the formula kind of correct, like for this sort of game. I do know that they're kind of retreading the whole story of like Shadow again, which I think is its biggest. I mean, it made sense considering the movie was coming out, and this is the perfect avenue, being Generations and being a past about the past and the past characters. I think the only negative thing I would say is that it's so good and nice to play a Shadow in the new engine that it actually kind of feels weird going and playing Generations and being like, man, they should have remade the whole thing at this point. Like, it would have been cool if everything just matched together. It would have been more cohesive. And I know it's a lot more money, but it was cool playing a Shadow that it kind of felt weird going and playing Generations, even though it's one of my favorite games. I was like, oh, what is this nonsense?
I mean, the best thing that it did was it put an already good game to shame. Like, it made me go in and play Sonic Generations. I was like, I'd rather go back and play Shadow. And I'm like, what am I doing? Like, I used to not like Shadow, and now he's like
What happened?
fun and playable and unique enough. Like, I like the teleporting for the homing attack. I like all the Doom powers. I love Doom surfing. I just love Doom surfing. And
It is the year of Shadow.
it's the year of Shadow. So, George, now we come to your pick. And without further ado, George, once you see the graphic on screen, tell everyone what your pick is for your favorite Sega game. 24.
Yakuza, or Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, or yes, that's what we're calling the game now.
You got it.
This game, man, Yakuza is just one of those franchises that, like, I think if you go back every single time, it's probably a Yakuza game most likely, or I talk very positively about Yakuza game in every single one of them. I always tell everyone that I feel like they're about to milk it dry, and then I come back to another game and I'm like, best game ever, best game ever. How do they do it? But I'm going to give a lot of praise for the gameplay of this game, the amount of content of this game. Somehow they added a Pokemon Snap game. They added a full, like, fake Pokemon game inside it. And you could even unlock it as a moveset that you could use. You could become a Pokemon or Sajumon master and, like, use the people and actually be OP. That's cool. They added that crazy taxi, kind of like what is it, like food delivery on the bike in Hawaii. They added the big Hawaii map. They even added a big mall that seamlessly doesn't have a loading screen and lets you go outside, which they couldn't do in Lost Judgment. They had like a high school, but you had to like load in between. The only negatives I would say is I didn't think the story was as good as the last game. And there was a lot of choppiness during the end of the game. Like, there's this part in the game where they're like, there's more thugs out there. And then it just got choppy. Like, it went down to like 15 frames per second on the PS5. It's crazy. So besides those two things, this game is ridiculously fun. The gameplay alone is amazing. I think I put in right now 60 hours, and I don't think I've even touched half of it. There's an Animal Crossing mode, literally. So it's like, it's crazy the amount of stuff they put into this game. It's massive. And it's crazy how fast the Yakuza games come out from the studio. They have two games this year, that Super Monkey Ball game and this one. Right. And they're gonna have another Yakuza game in a few months. Yeah. And we can't even get every show season coming out every year. Like, seasons take 3 years to come out, and somehow these guys are making $100 million, or probably not even that much, $20 million games for them that look $80 million.
Right. We got the Batman Part 2 coming out in 3 years. Whereas in that time, I will bet we will see at least 6 more Yakuza games. You know? Oh,
easy. They're going to be scoring. Easy. Yeah.
Wow. So,
what do you think about it?
Oh, what do I think about it? Well, what do I think? From what I've played, I haven't played much because I'm a little behind on my Yakuza games. But whenever a new one comes out, I like to jump into it, play it for a few hours, check out some of the modes. I love the change of location. I'm a little split on Kazuma coming back so soon, but I missed him.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not really that upset. It's kind of like the Wolverine situation where you're like, man, I kind of would have preferred him to be dead a little longer, but I also enjoyed his return. So yeah, in that regard, I'm not too bothered by it. And we did get that cool little side story game.
The Man Who Erased His Name?
Yes, and that was 2023, right?
I think so, yeah. I played it in Florida when I was there, so yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that kind of runs together with this game a bit, but obviously because it's like almost like they should have done like a Sonic and Shadow Generations pack where you would get like both games on one disc, or like, I don't know. But before we get to our disappointing picks, we're gonna have a third guest join us, or a third person join us. So once they're ready, I'll bring them in. Oh yeah, they're ready. So without further ado, let's invite our guest on, who's going to be joining us here. It is special guest Grant from Sonic Weekly. Look at him. He's like all... What happened to you? You went all Hollywood on us.
Yeah,
That's
well,
what happens.
That's what happens when you have a hit movie, a hit game. The Year of Shadow, baby. Shades the Hedgehog is killing it. So we got Sonic is here, but it's also all black because Sonic X Shadow
It's a Sonic
Generations.
funeral.
Yeah,
It is a Sonic
Year of
funeral.
Shadow.
R.I.P. Sonic.
Well, it's the R.I.P. the Year of
Hey,
Shadow,
Sonic Goop.
too. It ended today. How are you feeling about that?
Well, I think it's going to cast a long shadow, the Year of Shadow, Fearless the Year of Shadow. Because for one thing, it didn't start on January 1st, 2024. It started in March or something. So it may... The other thing, too, is, of course, it's a holiday movie, Sonic 3.
That's true.
And the game came out in October, the end of October.
Yeah.
So it's going to be kind of like, Sonic 2, the video game, came out at the end of 1992, but it was 93 when you really felt it because kids were starting to get like the pack-in Genesis Model 2 with Sonic 2.
Right.
And so it is with Shadow.
That's fair.
It will linger.
Can I remark, too,
It's a
on
virus.
your Jack Nicholson eyebrows that kind of come up over the glasses? I can't do that.
Yeah. I like it a lot.
Yeah, that's a good look. Grant, so why don't you tell the fine folks, like, what do you do in the Sonic and Sega fandom? Where can they find you? I want you to do the plug at the beginning because it might confuse some people. Who are you?
I appreciate it. Yeah. So I produce and co-host a podcast called Sonic Weekly. And as the name suggests, we come out every 7 days or so. You can find it on any podcatcher of choice. We're also on YouTube, Sonic Weekly,
Yes.
not WEAK,
Never.
but WEEK, weekly, every week, like a weekly magazine.
Yeah.
And we've been doing it for a couple years. And it's me, Bo, David the Lurker. Bo, you may know from his Sega Saturn blog that has made news on time extension and other things, the Rings of Saturn, and then David the Lurker, who is a friend of all in the Sonic fandom. So it's the
He's
three
a
of us
friend
plus
of ours, as they say in the mob.
yes, and Smoothies from FTCR and our friend Jack of Old Games. So it's like a whole little crew of us that make it sort of happen. And we just talk about, I mean, there's enough to talk about. Certainly this year, there's been enough to talk about every single week with Sonic. But also, even when there's nothing to talk about, there's something to talk about.
Who's
Like,
on
I
your
keep
next
waiting
show?
for the episode.
Who's on your next
You're
episode?
on our next show. You're on our show tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. There we
No.
go. Little plug.
Daddy Uncle Baby Barry has become a new favorite guest in the Sonic Weekly verse.
Yeah,
So we're
gonna
excited to
some
have
fun.
you.
I'm looking-
And George,
I've already-
please come on the show. We'd love to get
Oh,
to know you more.
I would love to be at one time.
Yeah, George
Yeah.
has stories to tell. He does from those early days.
Wait, is that what the podcast is about, or is it about Sonic news and stuff?
Yeah, it's about Sonic news. It's about really anything. So our most recent episode is we reviewed the movie. Before that, we had the screenwriters, Pat Casey and Josh Miller, along with the co-producer Tyson Hess on to do a talk about the trilogy. So
Oh.
we frequently have guests, and sometimes we have big guests like that. And then before that, it was all about the game, reviewing the game, hyping up the movie. And there's just always something. There's always something. And even when there's nothing, like I'm saying, like you can still talk about, like, it's messed up that Sonic wears boots and that they're not socks.
Yeah, what's up with that?
What's
up with that?
it's one of those examples where the author's not always right. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like Oshima's just objectively wrong.
I mean, George, do you remember when we were brought on Wired? No, not Wired. Sci-Fi. The Sci-Fi Channel had a podcast, and they invited you and I on to talk about the first Sonic movie, and we talked about Sonic's feet for about 20 minutes. Do you remember that, George?
I think I do.
And-
It sounds like a shameful conversation I've had in the past. Yes.
And what's funny is that was their last episode. I think they fired everyone after
Oh
we came out.
no! It
Whoops.
makes sense. I mean, it makes sense.
I mean,
Now that
you know
mention
what?
it.
I think it was the pandemic. I think they cut a lot of jobs like a month later, so it wasn't really on us. But So Grant, the reason I wanted to have you come on is obviously I wanted to hear about your thoughts on both Sonic in 2024, but also maybe your hopes for Sonic in 2025. And if you have a favorite Sega game, feel free to share it, as well as your disappointments. And if you want, you could sit through our disappointments too after that.
Happy to. This has been a big Sega year for me. I had previously tried to get into Yakuza, but the port of to Switch really got me engaged with it, and that's in the series for the first time. And so I'm looking forward to like kind of hopping aboard that series. And then I've also been like kind of going back into the Sega Ages Switch library of ports, but so and Monkey Ball but Sonic. Okay, Sonic has had the biggest year. The Knuckles show was this year. We started out with Knuckles, and it's also it is the 30th anniversary of Sonic 3 and the 30th anniversary of Sonic and Knuckles, and also the 30th anniversary of The Lion King. So it's weird that Mufasa and Sonic Movie 3 are happening at the same time 30 years later, but there you have it. On Sonic Weekly, we talked a lot about this in the most recent episode, but we're big fans of the Knuckles show. You guys said it really well about the game, that like the new part of Shadow Generations is so good that it puts Sonic Generations, it doesn't, I don't know if I'd go as far as to say it puts it to shame, but it shows you how far they've maybe come with it. And as far as what's, ahead, it's like, I loved Frontiers. It's interesting though, I was just reading on the Sonic Retro forums, because it's on Amazon, or it's the holidays, so people are playing it even though the game has been out. People are still coming to it as new, fresh players, but everybody has the same opinion about it, which is it's a 7 out of 10 game, and just how that's like a fact. But it's like, what if that like does it for you, or if you're bothered by that it's only a 7? So I love Frontiers, but I'm excited that maybe they really could push to, which I don't even know what that means. Like, I feel like even as fans, our imagination is a little limited. We're all like Sonic Adventure 3, but it's like, maybe they're thinking bigger than Sonic Adventure 3. Maybe they're thinking of I don't know. I don't know what that could be. But the point is that I don't know, and maybe they shouldn't listen to my or the fanfic, because all we do is want remakes. It's like Unleashed but better, or like Sonic Adventure remakes. It's like we can only sort of think of what's already been. So they got to keep doing their own thing.
Yeah, I always thought that they could push it further with the Frontiers concept of multiple islands and bring the tornado in, let you freely fly the tornado from like one, one landing pad to another landing pad. Maybe even allow Sonic to airdrop, like he's in the tornado and he just jumps off like he does in Sonic Adventure 2, and you get like a little mini game from the sky to the ground. And just kind of do away with all the menus. Have the entire game be like from title screen, all the way through all the act transitions and everything. Like no title screens coming up. I want to like go through a ring portal into cyberspace or whatever, and the stage just starts. And it's like, whoa! I just went from the open world to an action stage with no screen transition. And this whole game is just one big experience. And I think maybe that's kind of the future of the Sonic games, like push it even further. I don't know. How would you
can I
guys
tell
respond
you,
to that? You freak out?
Can I tell you two of my greatest wants for a Sonic game?
Yeah.
Because you're like right at it. One of which is to like, yes, have a hub world, an open zone island that's a peaceful place where you can just run and jump and do tricks and so forth. And then there's rings into the stages. But like the mobile games or like the Chow Gardens, beating the robots, freeing the animals, they populate then your hub world. Mm-hmm. So you can then do stuff. You can interact with them, and then that's like their own sort of mini game.
Yeah.
It just would make the connection between the stages, like cyberspace, and the open zone not seem so tenuous and have more of a direct connection. That's a want. And another one is zone playlists. I really was hoping that this was going to come in Origins. I was hoping it might come in a cyberspace DLC, which is just to arrange in the order that you like to create like, okay, this is going to be the stages that are the ones focused on difficult platforming, or these are the ones that are like ones with an unusual gimmick. Those are kind of like, those are things that and then, my other thing that I recently was proven wrong about is multiplayer. Sonic Superstars kind of was like, actually, maybe multiplayer is a little awkward with Sonic. Maybe your mileage varied on how Superstars multiplayer worked.
I was going to ask you guys what you guys thought about Sega kind of basically listening to the fandom finally, and do you think it's like too much to like go all in on it? I guess like when you guys watched the Sonic movie, I was surprised at some of the stuff they put in there. Like I was like, "Chow Garden, that's crazy." Like that's crazy talk. What are you guys talking about this for? But also seeing people actually in the theater understand stuff that I know, because I was like, hey, I have a Sega site, I know this stuff. But then like seeing every single person around me freaking out too, and I'm just like, wait, I'm trapped in here with these people. No, but no, what do you guys think about the whole idea of like having more fandom jokes within the media? Do you guys think that's a bad thing? Because I hear people complain about it. I like it, but I could see the wink wink to the audience sometimes.
I'm sure Grant has insight, having spoken with some of the creative team. Has that bled into like what they're aware of too, or do they know what the fans are seeing and reacting to? I'm certain they are.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. They didn't necessarily confirm one way or the other, but we know that they're online. They have an online presence. The creators, the director, the writers, the producers. You can find some of them still on message boards, chatting with fans about minute details. So we know that they and Sega as a whole really seems like receptive. I mean, the whole movie franchise is built on that one dramatic moment of listening to the fans and that working out,
right?
Of bringing aboard Tyson and redesigning the character and pushing the movie back, which is so crazy to think about, that people even still will be like, oh, it must have been intentional. Like it must have been a ploy.
Oh yeah.
But it's like they wouldn't sink that much time and money into a ploy like that. Probably, but I don't know. I also think we landed on the moon, and that's not 100% consensus. I mean, not with you guys, but just in general. Like, I don't know what facts are anymore.
Yeah,
I will. I'm going to just say, like, if they do it as like if they did all that as a marketing gimmick and it worked, then that's pretty brilliant. To be honest with you, congratulations on Paramount making an ugly model, and then what was that movie with Chippendale where they had the ugly model? Was that a Paramount thing too?
No, that was Disney's
Disney.
Chippendale Rescue Rangers live action movie, and to this day I still don't know how like
that worked.
Like maybe it was the parody law. I've heard conflicting things about it, but I think the mere fact that like in the theaters, that pink lady, the pink-haired lady, is like there in very briefly in the background in Tokyo with like a date, and the fact that fans saw that, they translated the Japanese text, they picked out that date, and they waited, and it was a day late, but they were rewarded with that New Year's Eve Tales Tube stream that then confirmed the lady's name. Like that alone tells you that they are very much aware that fans are watching and listening, and that there's this little sly interaction going on there. Like the fact that they can get away with that, and also Shadow watching Latinas within the movie, like that was not. I don't think that was a mistake. I think that was intentional. Can you speak to that, Grant? Were the Latinas? Can you confirm Latinas for us?
I think that's I think you've got the right read on it. Yeah. It seemed pretty clear. And then where did that joke originate? Maybe because Maria is a common name for
that's a good point.
Latino women.
I don't know. It was I know
Where
it was
does
just
that
like
meme
a
come from?
funny dub. But yeah, Maria, maybe because it has like, yeah, that's a good point. Like, I haven't thought about the Maria connection there, but we'll see how Shadow feels about Victoria. I don't know.
But I loved that in the movie. I loved the like quick little inserts of the telenovela soap opera, and his line about how she should kill them both. His line about that. It's cute. It adds. It's interesting though that they didn't, for as much as there's like coffee things with Agent Stone and Doctor Robotnik, and then there's the coffee beans thing with Shadow.
Yeah.
So that's like a missed opportunity. It's the same at the end of movie 2. Knuckles is like, "Oh, I'm going to get ice cream," but Tails fails to mention that they could also get mint ice cream, canonically his favorite flavor.
Right. But Knuckles does like grapes. I think he mentioned grapes.
He does. He mentions grapes all the time.
Yeah, he does.
And I love Knuckles, the Islander in the movie. And I think that's a pretty good take on the character compared to the like dumb jock take of him.
Right. Yeah, like he's this like this island dweller who just like came ashore in our world and is still like kind of learning about things. I do appreciate that in the whole. He's like a Klingon kind of with the whole warrior thing.
Yeah, yeah. There's that, and then like a bit of like Drax from Guardians of the Galaxy, where he's like pretty literal, as well. But also like a noble, honor-bound warrior. But I mean, I guess we're talking about the movie a little bit here, but like to me, that's the best version of the story and the best version of the characters. But it's because they're in a movie. Because they're in a movie with a lot of thought and craft and care put into it. So the point of the characters in the movie is to have depth and to tell a story. Whereas in the games, that's a little incidental. And so then fans, we like develop all these like ideas about it, and then but I thought the movie does a really good job of like picking and choosing what's right to adapt, and I like this version of Team Sonic, and this was the first time that I felt like on board with that concept. Whereas Sonic Heroes was like Team Sonic. I don't know. Knuckles is like a loner. That's like a different.
Right.
He's on Angel Island. He's not. He's not Team
sudden.
Sonic.
So now I want to hear what your maybe disappointment. Like if you could name one disappointment of the year, and it doesn't even need to be a game. It could be something Sega or the Sonic franchise did, something that happened that just disappointed you. And we don't like to use, because we used to be like, oh, our favorite and like worst game, and we're like, but Sega doesn't make bad games. They never have.
They haven't for a while. Oh, yeah. Never. Yeah, you're right. Sorry.
Never. So what would be your like most disappointing moment of 2024?
For me, the most disappointing thing is that we didn't get a follow-up for that Game Awards announcement in 2023, where they were like, Crazy Taxi's coming, Shinobi's coming, Golden Axe is coming, like presumably that's around the corner, and maybe will be tied to the Switch 2. It's like once that platform is known, then it's like, okay, here comes the Crazy Taxi remake, here comes a new Phantasy Star. Actually, Phantasy Star Online wasn't one of them. What were it was Golden Axe, Shinobi, Crazy Taxi, Space Channel?
No, it wasn't Space Channel 5. It was Streets of Rage.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, just, a trailer for any of those would have been cool. And so it felt very Sonic and Like a Dragon. And it's like, yeah, there are these other franchises that theoretically they want to build out. So I'd like to see those.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point, because if I remember, the developer for Shinobi is known, but they have not been allowed to announce themselves. And so all they've been able to do for over a year now is like post things, and it's kind of like the if you know sort of post. And it's like, why doesn't Sega let these people at least say we're working on it? Because it's going to come out eventually, and it's a beloved 2D developer. So what's the problem with that? Also, yeah, the game, from what I've heard, is the furthest along. So maybe we'll get a trailer for it in the next few months. But the fact that we went a whole year and the Game Awards happened and there wasn't even a follow-up trailer. Like last year, we blew your minds with the new energy, new era of Sega, and now Sega's back with a trailer to, of one of those reveals. Let's check it out. And if it was even just Shinobi, which is, 2D and not as exciting as the other ones, at the very least,
they announced a new Virtual Fighter. They just, and now we have to wait for that. Hopefully, we hear about that sooner than later.
Right.
But yeah.
So, I think the Virtua Fighter thing was the most exciting announcement. They could have included that in the new energy, new era, but Yeah, I think that
I
would have.
wonder how far along that is.
Oh, Virtua Fighter, the
Yeah,
new. Yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
It
because
cutscene.
they
Yeah,
barely showed like 3 minutes or like 15 seconds of it.
yeah, yeah. I don't know.
It's
That's a
crazy
good point.
how little we know, and they could have. There's so many opportunities to throw us some information about these games, and it would have just been just like because I think we're also still relying on the 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 reveal of those games, thereby proving some like random 4chan post that suggested that there's new games and also remakes. I'm
Right.
sorry, there's
Yeah,
ports slash remakes of the original games,
Yeah.
right? And then there's a new entry that might be more like online focused.
Right.
But
Yeah. It.
but do we know that for sure, or is that like just like something that we're still kind of
I.
grabbing
I
from the
think
rumor
Sega's
mill?
experimenting with that right now. The Banana Rumble game has a very separate feeling online multiplayer mode that very well could go offline someday and never be accessible again. And then the base game is also packaged in there. So I'm guessing that the next Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi are going to have like like a story mode and then like this online multiplayer mode, and there's going to be less of a like the line's going to be blurred for those two modes, so it won't feel as though you're selecting like a menu item, but it could be a menu item, like, but I do feel as though they're probably going to include those within the same package. I'd be surprised if they give us a Jet Set Radio game or a Crazy Taxi game using the exact same assets like twice. It would be weird, and it would be, I think, unprecedented. But Virtua Fighter's kind of showing us that they can support a remake and a brand new title at around the same time, presuming they both come out in 2025. So it's kind of up in the air for that. Yeah.
It does seem like it's also tied to their movie output, like, or in terms of the movies that we know have been licensed. There's a Streets of Rage.
hmm
There's
I think
there's
there's.
already
I'm
been
trying.
Yakuza.
Right, Yakuza already came out, which I think it kind of came and went. There wasn't too much hype from the online for it, as much as I thought it was going to be. But yeah, I do wonder what these other projects are going to be like. I do remember seeing the list. I forgot each title. Was Crazy Taxi part of it? I know Altered Beast was part of it, even
It
though that's a
was, yeah.
title. Yeah, and yeah. So I think Shinobi looks amazing. I think Crazy Taxi, from what we've seen, has a lot of potential. I'm excited, and I agree with you. I think there should have been some sort of like Sega Direct after
Oh,
this year, just
100%.
giving updates with every developer on how it's going on, even if they don't have screenshots. That would have been cool for the community, for sure.
Yeah. I miss the days of old Japanese men bowing and saying, "Please understand, our game has been delayed for another year." I think Matt Reeves and James Gunn needs to get on camera and be like, "Please understand, the Batman Part 2 will come out in 3 years." I think they
Forgive
need to do
us.
that. Forgive us. That's all I want. I just want some bowing because I got all penguined up, and then now like, what am I gonna do for 3 years? Come on.
They should
But
do that for anytime there's a delay. They should do it Nintendo Direct style.
they
There should be more apologizing, just in general.
Yeah.
From
Yeah.
I think that's what
corporate
we need
media.
from every major corporation. Well, no apologies needed from you, Grant. I want to thank you so much for hopping on, sharing your thoughts on Sonic.
Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Great to be here and see you on Sonic Weekly tomorrow, and see you on Sonic Weekly soon, George. And
Oh wow.
Yeah.
yeah, cheers.
All right. Well, you
All
take
right.
care, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. All
Bye.
right. And there he goes. Grant has gone off. I was hoping he would like lower the glasses and it would be like red glowing eyes, and then that would be like our post-credit scene. But we got someone else coming on now. We're going to be having Corey Maru.
Oh no, ban him.
I'm gonna
I'm
have
joking.
to do a little behind the scenes kicking and adding of people, so no hard
Oh,
feelings. Um, but I will bring him on in just a moment. In the meantime, George, you and I, we're going to be sharing our most disappointing moments of 2024, and we'll let Patrick sit in on that. He can share his as well. So, without further ado, let's bring Patrick onto the scene, and we can say hi to him. Here he is. There he
oh, he's
is.
hiding.
Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm
How
doing
you
good.
doing,
How about you
Patrick?
guys?
We're doing great.
Great,
Nice
Yeah.
seeing you guys.
great.
So, people may have seen your name, Patrick Corey Maru, on the site. You do contributing, you do writing, you do convention correspondence. You ran Sonic and Sega Fan Jam for eons. And now here you are talking to us about disappointing things of 2024. Before George and I get to ours, I want to hear your favorite game real quick, and then your disappointments.
Oh shoot, that's hmm. Uh, honestly, I have two favorites. But I'm gonna have to go with
There we go.
Yeah.
yeah,
All right, all right, all right.
yeah, Infinite
I
Wealth.
knew, I knew it. I knew it.
For people just
Yeah,
listening to audio, he's not wearing anything, and he painted
He's
the Infinite Wealth logo on his chest. It was phenomenal.
that's what made me clap. So
yeah. I gotta say, Infinite Wealth. It's a really, really, really good game. Like, there's so much stuff to do in it. It continues the story with Ichiban and his crew, and like, and he also has like Kazuma Kiryu joining in as well. It's it's just filled with like so much like drama, action, and of course there's like a bunch of like mini games you can like check out. It's so much stuff to do. Like I haven't even like 100% like completed it yet. Like I'm still going. Like if you guys checked out like PlayStation wrap up,
Hmm.
I did my wrap up not too long ago, and like Infinite Wealth is like my number one. I can't remember how many hours I put in it, but like that's like kind of my like game of the year. The other game I want to mention too that I really liked was Sonic X Shadow Generations, especially the Shadow portion, because like Shadow had his like Fearless campaign
Hmm.
that the people at the Sonic studio like made to celebrate everything about Shadow the Hedgehog, and just seeing like all the stuff that was going on with the character, and like going to Anime Expo and seeing like the Dark Beginnings short. Like it was just a good treat for like people who are like big fans of the character. And Sonic Movie 3 was really awesome too, so I gotta add that in there. Like
That's
it,
that's a great point, Patrick, because like I feel in the past they've done these year of, and it's really
mhm.
amounted to like an IDW comic and not much else. But like yeah, the year of Shadow really surprised me because I was ready to see like maybe a comic book and obviously the game and the movie, but I was like, wow, they like released like one of the best 3D Sonic games in quite some time, and it was a Shadow game. They released one of the best Sonic movies, and it was a Shadow focused movie. And they even had like guest artists doing these like Sonic and Shadow art pieces. There was one that came to
Yeah.
Chicago. There was another one in I think it was in Miami or something, or New York. But they had like a lot more going on. They had the motorcycle. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
they really went all out for Shadow, and I think they made a lot of old timers like us like him again because I feel like he
Yeah.
was maybe not unlikable, but just kind of like pushed to the background. Um,
Yeah.
so I now I want to hear what your disappointment is because I'm really excited
Oh,
to get into disappointment on the show.
well, I'll be honest. Like, I don't think I have like a huge disappointment like at all because I don't think Sega like released too many games this year.
Mm.
You have the Atlas stuff too, like Metaphor and
Hmm.
what was it? Unicorn Overworld. That's what it's called. Like
Overlord,
Overlord.
Unicorn
Yeah,
Overlord,
Yeah.
Persona Reloaded, 3 Reloaded came out. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
How
Like those
about
games were.
in arcades there was Double Dribble where kids threw basketballs. Did that one disappoint you? I'm looking at our forums where
That one's one of my favorite games. I couldn't believe it. The physics are
Bear
so
showed.
realistic.
I'm trying to see. Yeah, nothing really jumps out as being
You could also
super
bring
bad.
up like anything that Sega did. I'll give an example. I guess I'll give one of the examples I was going to bring up. But like, I'm kind of tired of maybe this is just an American thing, but like changing of voice actors. Like Persona 3 Reloaded, all new voice acting. I think it's fine
Oh,
for some of these, but I'm tired of like playing even like Yakuza, the English dub has had so many changes randomly, like from 7 even to 8. I wish we
Mm.
could have some sort of contracts with these voice actors, give them some
yeah,
consistent work, and give us consistent voice actors moving forward for iconic characters at least. But that's one of my pet peeves that like companies have been doing lately. At least in America, in Japan, it's just insane that they've had the same voice actors since 2006 for like Kazuma, for example, or even the minor characters that come back. So I think we need that consistency in America. That would be awesome. So that's something I
yeah.
think that Sega could improve on.
That's a good point.
Hmm.
And George, I think we're getting into now our disappointments. So Patrick,
Oh,
he's still with us. We can still hear him. I just don't have his video set up for this.
Oh, I
But
gotta see this.
yeah, so here we go. So our first disappointment, and I believe it's going to
oh,
be mine. So without further ado, wrong one. Here, we'll do this one.
oh no!
Delisting.
Oh,
Delisting.
delisting. Oh my goodness.
Delisting. That was the correct
Oh,
answer. I'm sorry, Patrick. You got it wrong.
you're
Man,
you right about that.
Sega went delisting crazy in December for no reason. No one came out and talked about it from the company. They just removed several really, really good games for seemingly no reason. The only
Yep.
thing that caught my attention was just a week or two later, Virtua Fighter 2 for Xbox Live Arcade received a physical disc release from Limited Run Games, and I thought, oh goodness, are we going to be seeing Jet Set Radio's Xbox Live Arcade release on disc? Are we going to be seeing like the like this? I guess the Sega, what are the Sega Ages or whatever they are? Those like little collections they did of 3 games from M2 that were called Sega Ages in Japan, but they had a different name
Yep.
here, and there was only like 3 of them. But
Oh yeah,
yeah,
the vintage collection.
yeah, yeah. And so it was just such a strange move to be like, we're really embracing our classic games and we're going to bring out new titles. But if you want to play Jet Set Radio, you're out of luck. Like it seemed out of nowhere for me.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about that?
Hmm. You want to go first, George?
I'll let Patrick go first. Yeah,
Okay.
sure.
Okay.
I'll go first. Personally, well, obviously, no one likes delisting games, and some of the games that I want, like I never paid for Outrun 2 on PC Steam, and now I wish I had it on Steam, so I like just have it. And I could be like,
Yeah.
look, I have Outrun 2
Yeah.
Coast to Coast on PC. That's a 200 and something dollar digital code if you could find someone to sell it to you. So like that kind of stuff sucks because some of these great games you can't just have your friend be like play Outrun 2 on PC because it's a great game.
Hmm.
And so you can't share these games, and I feel like it makes them kind of lost in time. And I just don't see why you would do it. Just do the
Yeah.
license. It's part of your legacy and your brands, especially if you're going to make a new game or a movie or whatever you're trying to sell next. Having them easily to buy is very important.
Another annoying
Yeah.
thing is that at least on Xbox 360, when the games get delisted, eventually they just turn into this like blank image. I think it just says like XBLA or something like that. Like
Ugh.
the
Yep.
digital cover art disappears. So like my Afterburner Climax is just this like ugly tile, and I don't know, that kind of annoys
Oh,
me. Like
Oh
I'm
man.
really hoping Jet Set Radio and the other titles don't like turn into just these white boxes. But that seems like what would happen. But yeah, so Patrick, did you go out and like panic buy any of these titles, or did you have most of them already?
I've honestly I have most of them. I have like Virtua Fighter 2, Sonic the Fighters. Still got like the Dreamcast collection as well. I got pretty much everything. I was disappointed how these games were like delisted because like I was like, man, like I really want my friends to play these games and stuff, so that way they can like, be up to speed on some of these IPs and stuff. And now
Right.
Sega's like this delisted them out of nowhere is it was like kind of disappointing. I do feel like there might be something planned for those older titles,
Yeah.
like you guys mentioned before, like the limited run games. Like, I don't mind physical copies of like older games and stuff. But at the same time, like sometimes there's a lot of like criticism with limited run games because like their stuff can be expensive, and then they produce the stuff after certain deadline and stuff. And I had like had no issue with limited run games myself, but like I've been hearing like stories and everything, so it's like, kind of disappointing that you have to like wait or like spend a bunch of money. And I'm guilty of this because I spent money on Virtual Fighter 5
I
Ultimate
thought you
Showdown.
did. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course I did. I mean, I did too. I'm not gonna lie. So,
It's
limited run games.
ironic. It's ironic though because the end credits to Sonic 3 recreate the Sonic the Fighters graphics, and yet they
Yeah.
delisted the game before Sonic 3 came out. So people like sitting there might like nudge their friend, or they like might remember and they go, "Oh my god, that's Sonic the Fighters. Oh, let's go home
Yeah.
and buy it." And they're like, "Oh wait, we can't." They delisted it.
I made a video talking about uh, Virtual Fighter deserving a collection, and this kind of applies to other titles too that are like delisted.
Hmm.
Like I'm not really too sure what Sega is planning, but I read somewhere that like that they might be doing like a subscription service for the older games. But in my
Hmm.
opinion, I think they should just like do like collection sets, like do a Dreamcast collection, do a like an arcade collection of all your like era of like arcades, like the System 16, System 32, Model 1 to
100%.
now stuff like that. Like
Capcom's
that.
really doing a great job at that. They have Power Stone 1 and 2,
Yep.
and
Right.
what was it? And Rival Schools 2, all on a. I mean, there's other games on there, but those three alone are just like, holy crap. The only
Yeah.
downside is that they're lacking the Dreamcast component. So on one hand, it makes me happy because my Dreamcast discs are still like relevant. Like I can go and do the item shop. Not item shop. What was it in Power Stone 2? You could do
You could like
Oh
get
yeah.
fruits and like do like the little lotto machine thing.
synthesis or something. Like you'd like
Yeah.
Yeah. And
combine
I think
things.
I think Capcom versus SNK also had like you can plug in your Neo Geo
Yeah.
pocket.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
remember. So
Uh,
now, George,
okay.
we're gonna get to
Oh.
your disappointment. So without further ado, here's George's.
What is it? Support. You need
Support.
supporting games. You need people to So I need Sega to call me while I'm playing video games and support me throughout the game. I can't be. No, I'm joking. This was like this. I feel like Sega and all these companies have these support teams for when companies or teams are like falling behind and they come in. I think Nintendo has Monolith Soft that does the Xenoblade. They come in and they're like helping other teams get their games up and running to get them out the door. I
Yep.
think, and Sega has their own. It's the guys that do Valkyria Chronicles. They're the guys that usually, I think CS3 or something. I don't know what their team name is, but they do this. And I think they need a team that after the game comes out, they fix issues in the engine that people complain about instead of just letting it out there. Like I said
Yeah.
before, I love Infinite Wealth. It's a great game, but there's so much choppiness in the game later on in the later half that I'm like, somebody needs to, whatever happened to make this, that had this happen during this part of the game, they need to fix the bug They need to get the frame rate back up and that helps the next game, obviously, that comes out and
Oh
does
yeah.
the same idea. So I think that's what Sega needs. I think that all these teams have a team that helps them get the games out the door, but once it's out the door, they forget about them. And I think there's a lot of people online I've noticed that are younger going back playing older Yakuza games with a bunch of bugs that they never fix, and now they're like, "What?" And now I've seen a bunch of memes, and I love the memes, but it's almost like it's a joke in the community, so it's funny at the same time. But I think we need to know that that people are playing games that are like 10 years old, like and enjoying them today. So we should get more support long term, I think. And I think
Yeah.
Sega's been doing better lately, especially with the Shadow DLC and all that stuff they've been doing. All that free stuff is cool. Just more bug fixes is my thing. That's it.
For sure. And also we
Oh yeah.
have Sonic Racing Cross Worlds coming out, and that's going to be a
Ooh.
big test because, you know, Team Sonic Racing famously was developed, released, and then was just like left to like exist. And meanwhile, you know, the Mario monks are getting like constant DLC, constant additions. I was just the other day watching I was watching like Netflix, and you know they have ads come on between the things, and I saw Mario Kart 8 ads, and I was like, that's an old game, but it's still
Yeah.
relevant. And the fact that Mario Kart had a Happy Meal just before the Sonic 3 Happy Meal, like it's a game that has existed for years now, and it's still, I mean, Mario Kart 8 is kind of like the Virtua Fighter 5 of Nintendo, where it's like they're just gonna keep and I have no problem with that. And like I just would be shocked if Cross Worlds comes out and like there's absolutely no roadmap for like the next 2 years. There's no like surprise DLC. Like how exciting would that be, where every 2 months we have the equivalent of like Vice and Skies of Arcadia in Transformed? But like I think that would be phenomenal, and they can tie it in with the new Energy New Era games. So when the new Jet Set Radio comes out, we'll have that version of Beat and Gum and like a track for them playable, presuming that Cross Worlds is like a Sonic and Sega situation and not just Sonic, which I'm really hoping it's not.
Yeah.
Well, I'm looking forward to Mario Kart 8 on the Switch too. So that's
Me
my
too.
pick.
Yeah, maybe they could turn it sideways and it'll be Mario Kart Infinite, you know?
Ooh, copy a better. Sorry.
Yeah, infinite coins or something like that. But yeah, that's a good one, George. Support. I mean, but I think it's a good. Maybe it's a good thing that our real issues with Sega this year weren't bad games, but just kind of like questionable or bad decisions, like delisting. Delisting's just like a negative. I don't think there's any way that you can spin it. Now I know like a single game being delisted where it's like a music issue, music rights issue or something. I get that, but obviously
Yeah.
a lot of these games are like outright owned by Sega. There's no music issues, and it happened all at once, which is puzzling.
Mhm.
I was gonna ask Sonic Q on the chat said that Virtual Fighter 2 is part of the limited run physical collection, and they delisted it during the same time. What do you guys think of that? Do you think that's a little weird?
It's a little weird. Like I know like I know people still play Virtua Fighter 2 like in Japan, and like just seeing the game being delisted is just kind of off. And then it has online features too. Like why would you delist that game if it has like online features? Because the only way you can play it now is through like the Yakuza games. I'm just
Right.
like, what gives?
It is interesting too. Yeah, that limited run selling a game that really thrives on online play, but the only online players are going to be old owners and people who picked it up from limited run games.
I think limited run games knows that most people are just going to put it in the shelf and be like, it looks nice next to my other games.
Probably what I'm going to do. Yeah, that's my plan. I did want to do a shout out to some of the comments we have here. We have one from longtime friend of the show, Dr. Scottnick. He said, my Sega highlights of 2024 was being able to host the Sonic the Hedgehog 3 premiere in my city and also getting to stream from the Sega booth at PAX Australia. Really cool opportunities.
Nice.
I did see him posting the pictures. This is pretty awesome. It looked really, I don't know, stage fright, man. Like I would poop my pants. I don't know how you could be in front of so many people.
He's got it figured out, George, because what we're doing here is we're struggling because we're in like America. It's a big country. You and I, we got to find the smaller countries where we can
Little
be the
fish,
kings.
big pond.
Yeah. So, George, you're going to go to, I don't know, like an island somewhere.
An island?
Island.
Just send me to Russia. I'll be the Russian.
The Russian influencer. Yeah, you could do that. All right, I'll send you to Russia. And I don't know, I'll go to like Tanzania.
The Bahamas.
I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Oh my goodness.
But yeah, no, but that's super cool. And we've had some other great comments here too. Dr. Scottnick also mentioned that 2024 was the first year without a Football Manager game, which is that's true.
I mean, I thought Madden came out every year. Oh wait, football. Oh, okay, I see.
Right.
The other football.
Yeah. So no one can manage football in 2024, but oh well. But yeah, it seems like general consensus from fandom is that we had a really great Sonic game that was part remaster, part brand new title, which I think is the great direction going forward. And Yakuza just released a fantastic title, and it seems to point the direction for where the series is headed in 2025. So, I know we right now here with, you, George, and Patrick, you guys are huge Yakuza fans. What are your expectations for and George, you called this before they announced it, Goro Majima having his first standalone game with Pirate Yakuza.
Yeah, I didn't know he was going to be a pirate, but it's pretty cool that he got his own game. I'm a little disappointed that he has like amnesia in a way, because it's like, it's almost like a fantasy game. Like, did this even happen? Kind of a game, kind of like and that's another thing I liked about Infinite. I didn't know if I told you this, but you know how they have these like samurai games and stuff? Yeah. In the new game, you do these missions where you remember Kazuma's past, and he talks about it, and he's all, it was like a strange dream. I love that, dude. That was enough that they like said, oh yeah, that actually happened. Kazuma dreamed.
It's now canon.
Yeah, it's canon. I loved it. But I'm excited for a Majima game for sure. Pirate theme's a little much, maybe. I guess they had Hawaii and they thought, let's add ship battles to it. I'm excited because they always surprise me even when I doubt them. So I'm assuming this is most likely would be a really good game, because I doubted the man who erased his name, and the ending was amazing on that game. So I'm ready to see what they do with this.
What are your feelings and hopes and dreams for Pirate Yakuza, Patrick?
First of all, I'm happy that Majima has his own full-fledged game. It's been fun playing as him in what was it, like Yakuza Kiwami 2. He had his own little like mini game storyline going on with like Makoto, and like dealing with like like crime and everything. Or Pirates in Hawaii, like I'm just excited to like try out the combat system. That's been looking pretty exciting, especially you can do like aerial combos and everything. I'm very curious about where the story is going to unfold and how it's tied to Infinite Wealth in some ways, and the Sega arcades. They're adding the Ocean Hunter, another Sega Model 3 arcade game, and that's like a light gun shooter. So I'm just sitting here like, I'm like, they're porting like not just like beat 'em ups and fighting games, or even like Sega Bash Fishing and stuff. They're actually like experimenting like other genres and stuff. So I'm very curious if like we'll see like Sega Naomi or more Model 2 games in the near future for other Yakuza games, or if they like RGG might just, I don't know, do like a compilation of like arcade games, because it's like maybe like one guy who's been working on programming these games on the RGG titles and stuff, and he's been really doing an absolute amazing job. I'm just like, bro.
Adding Virtual Fighter 3 TV, Sega Bass Fishing, and then Spike Out in one game is ridiculous. I was like, wait, when I showed up in the arcade, I totally forgot. Like, even though I was looking at the stories online, I totally forgot when I went into the arcade in the game, and I'm like, oh yeah, it has. And I started playing them obviously for
And I
hours.
mean,
But anyway,
yeah, and George, you know from experience, like with Sega Talk, our other podcasts, like there's some games that are just difficult for us to talk about because we can't play them, and they're making so many of these arcade titles like accessible finally, which I think
right.
is just awesome.
Oh,
And then
yeah.
on top of that, there's Master System games. We're gonna get 3D Space Harrier, which is, I believe, in like Space Harrier canon, the third game, which is kind of weird that you go from arcade for one, Genesis for two, and then Master System for three. But that one famously had an end boss that they replicated in 3D Space Harrier for the 3D classics, and so
Oh, yeah.
it kind of comes full circle now that we get to play it again. But I'm very much looking forward to not only what they can do with the ship battles and that whole pirate aspect, but just that they're continuing to like bring back. I honestly get more excited sometimes when I see what I'm more excited to see what the game is going to be in the arcades for the new Yakuza title than anything else, because it's always a surprise now, and it's like something that like never got a home release, and here it is. How would you guys feel if they did a like an arcade classics collection, but it used like a Club Sega from Yakuza, and you could freely roam it in like first person VR and like see all the games?
Capcom tried something like that. Their little arcade collection. They kind of dropped it now with the new fighting game re-releases they've been doing. But I would love it. I think it would be a cool little menu to have as an option.
I would faint. I would literally like just faint. Like, oh my goodness! Like they got Virtual Fighter, House of the Dead,
Yeah.
Virtual Cop. Like all, I'll just
I'd love,
go nuts.
I'd love to have a 3D replica of the arcade cabinet so I could look at it, like move it around,
Yeah.
look at open it up, see how
Open it
it's
up,
connected
start
inside.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they should have a
start
mode where,
unplugging it.
yeah, the arcade staff,
You
like
can,
these
you can
kindly
put it
little,
together.
these kindly Japanese guys just come around the corner, these NPCs, and start kindly asking you to stop doing that. Like, okay, stop touching the machine, put it back together, and you can fight them. I don't know.
What would be great too is like have UFO catchers as well, like have like different items
Yeah.
that you can like collect. That'd be pretty sweet. Like a whole like digital Sega arcade. It's so many arcade games like I want to like replay on the actual like consoles rather than like depend on emulators. Like one game.
Zachary.
In the comments,
Sorry, I was gonna
yeah,
say Zachary said electrical mechanical games in Pirates would be cool because Sega started in Hawaii, and that's one of my disappointments in Infinite that they never brought that up. Like I thought they were gonna bring it up, and that was the reason they went to Hawaii because they've been so like deep into Sega lore. I thought they were gonna bring up like, oh look, it's one of the Sega Bell machines from the. Did you know they started in Hawaii? Because they do Sega facts in the game all the time. Like
yeah.
I think there's a
Yeah.
part where Kazuma goes, oh, I remember playing the arcades. I used to play games by Sega. They always seem to make the best games. And I'm like, just nodding themselves. All right.
What if we had like Martin Bromley, and James Humpert and David Rosen in the
As
game?
side character, like side missions.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
like characters.
A
That would be
very,
crazy.
very old man, and it's like he's like, I started this company. I don't know. That would be kind of fun.
My dad started the company. It could be a guy, his son.
Yeah.
So
Like one thing I would say that I'm kind of disappointed in terms of like arcade games and Pirates Yakuza is there's no Dynamite Cop. Like that game is full of pirates. What happened?
Oh,
and boats.
Yeah, that's
There's a
true.
boat in it. Oh, that would
they
be
have
like,
Spike out in there, so
they could have the like in like modern graphics those pirates as like a mini like battle that like they're within the actual Yakuza universe. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
I wish they do that. But
Yeah.
we have a lot of hopes and dreams for that game. I don't think all of that stuff will play out, but I'm very excited for what Sega has to come in 2025. And I'm looking forward to what we have going on at the site. I mean, I honestly don't really have any ideas right now. I'm going to Japan in April, so
Ooh.
Wow.
I will be near the arcade district for a few days. So I'll whip out my camera and I'll walk around and do some stuff. I'm going to be there for the Star
Sweet.
Wars convention for a few days. But honestly,
How's
like
your Japanese?
yeah, so my attention's going to be divided though. Like honestly, I think I'm going to be thinking more about like going to Joypolis and stuff. So that'll be fun.
Oh, you'll
Um,
love Joypolis.
yeah, I from what I've seen, it looks like a lot of fun. I'm a big fan of like weird indoor theme parks, and it kind of seems to tick all those boxes for me. Um, and yeah, I mean, George, you and I, we've got more Sega Talk episodes. I think we're gonna be doing one next week. We haven't really planned it, but
Hmm.
we took our little
Right.
holiday break. Um, and then Patrick, do you have any conventions this year that you're excited to attend, or any events you see coming up?
Oh, great question. I'm eyeing on Frosty Faustings in Chicago, but it all depends how plans go because after that
Virtual
Virtua
Fighter
Fighter
thing?
announcement,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, they're gonna have like a tournament for Virtua Fighter 5 Revo, and you know, I kind of want to like meet some of the people from like virtualfighter.com. They're really awesome people who like help other players learn how to play Virtual Fighter and improve on their skills. And
Yeah, talk. Let's talk in
I
private
haven't,
about that because I'd like to go that too, and I need to figure out exactly how they like do press and everything. I haven't
yeah,
really seen that, but that would be really awesome. It's surprising that there has been a lot of Sega happenings in areas that aren't like New York, Los Angeles.
Wait,
Um,
what's wrong with California, man? What's going
no,
on here? What's
yeah,
wrong
nothing, but like man, it gets so sad out here in
with?
Chicago and other parts of the country. So the fact that they did like the Sonic events at the camp event locations out near
hmm
you, Patrick, and out near me, and the fact that that artist came and I got invited out to the opening reception for the Sonic and Shadow event that he did. And what's funny is my good friend actually lives in that building, so it was just kind
Ooh,
of like I was like, oh, you're sharing space with Sonic, my dream. Um, but yeah, I'm really hoping for more events and more places from Sega. I think they need to
yeah,
branch out. I think they need to start bringing back those Sonic events. That was so much fun doing that in San Diego and New York, and it's been too long.
yeah,
I'd like to see
I
it
agree.
happen again. Um, and also fan conventions. I'd like to make my way out to one again. It's again, it's been too long. Um,
Is there one you've been eyeing?
I always want to go to those Sonic ones, but they're always at like strange times of the year for me, or they're a little inaccessible. Um, but yeah, I want I want to get Jaleel White's autograph, so that's kind of on my list. I want to
On
meet.
like a video game or on like what are you thinking of putting it on?
Oh no, I have so I have a copy of a script from Sonic Underground, and
Okay.
it's well, it's not a copy, it's like an original one from the production, and I got the actor who voiced Knuckles, and I'm like, well, I got to get Sonic on there, and even he said that when he signed
Obviously.
it, because it just seems incomplete to get Knuckles and not Sonic, uh, so there's that, and then there's also the arcade meetups that I've been hosting out here at the Galloping Ghost Arcade, the Arcade Adventure. Those have been really fun.
Oh yeah,
We get around 25 to 30 people each time. You know, it's just
Nice.
it's casual, which I love about it. The extent of my planning is making graphics and like picking a date, and that's it. Um, but I have been in talks with the arcade's owner, and he told me that if I give him enough time, he should be able to have that back room open with the R360, and that's the dream, to have that up and running, and then maybe I'll be the one to break it. Wouldn't that be awesome?
That's what I was gonna say. That thing just does not seem like it's a safe thing. Like, isn't it like 250 the weight limit on it?
They upped it a bit.
150 to
Yeah, I think
125, 95,
it's
85
250.
pounds?
It's 250, but
250. Yeah.
yeah, I really want to give that a try. They also have the Galaxy Force 2 deluxe machine in there, and a
nice.
refurbished Thunderblade, which looks like an exercise bike, if you remember that thing. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so I mean, I think 2025 is going to be a good year, at least for Sega and video games. I don't know much else, so we
I
get to
would
enjoy
say
that.
this.
Yeah.
I would say this too. Like next year is Sega's 65th anniversary, so I'm hoping
hmm
they have something planned for that. Hopefully, maybe with an events or more game announcements.
Maybe that streaming service will be what they,
Oh,
game streaming service. I don't know.
Oh my
Um,
god.
yeah, that would be something else. But yeah, I feel like we should plug things, but people know where to find us, SEGAbits.com. I know,
hmm
Patrick, though, you have your own channel and your own goings-ons. Where can people find you?
oh. So you can find me on YouTube at Corey Maru Gaming. You can find me on Twitter as Corey Maru. I also got like TikTok and Instagram, Patrick underscore Corey Maru.
hmm
Yeah, that's all the places you can find me.
K
Oh,
O R
blue.
I M A R U.
Yep, and there's also Blue Sky. I'm also on Blue Sky as well.
Oh yeah, yeah. Blue skies. Um,
I see.
George, exactly. George, we've got a Sega talk coming out in the next few weeks,
We
and we
yeah.
continue to do those. I'm looking forward to what we have planned and what
We're
our
talking
future.
about Border Break.
No,
Border Break. Ooh,
didn't we already talk about
Yeah.
Border
and
Break?
two.
Did we? I thought that's the one we had on the list. We'll
Bulk
look at the list
slash,
after
bulk
this.
slash.
Bulk slash
Oh,
Border
Bulk
Break is
Slash.
what we talk about. Man, I'm getting my Meg games confused with the Border Break and Bulk Slash. Yeah, Bulk Slash, the one that was recently translated to English with actual English voices. I don't know how that worked. Did you have to do like a tryout to be a voice actor for that game?
That's a good question. I don't know.
Man, should have asked. Anyway, that's pretty cool. We'll talk about it next time on Sega Talk for sure.
Absolutely. And yeah, so that will wrap up this episode of the SEGAbits Swingin Report Show. But we'll be back sooner than later. We'll see you next time. And thanks for playing. See you next game. That's my sign off. Thanks, guys.
Mountain Game.
Without a say.